greetings, and welcome again to yet another. Girl, who don't you know? It's Marilyn Green. I'm the hostess with the mostest, THEE. And today you are listening to Girl Who Don't You Know, where we are trying to transform your mind one show at a time. And of course, I need you guys to do something for me. You need to like me and you need to subscribe because, I mean, in addition to this wonderful, super guest that I got that's going to speak on something that's kind of dear to my heart as well, really dear. I'm going to have some great guests coming up. So, hey, subscribe, tell a friend, share it, tell a friend. Okay, so we all know that October is the month when they celebrate, if you will, or they bring awareness to breast cancer, and everybody wears pink. Men wear pink. Everybody is pink, pink, pink. Okay, but we all know that the pink don't just stay in October. It can be any time, in any month. So I always every year try to bring what I call pink voices. My guest that I have coming up is part of that pink voices where she gets to tell her story. And my hope is that the story that she gives you and some of the health literacy that she fought for to make sure that she was doing the right thing for her family will inspire others who out there being thrivers and survivors of breast cancer. So I guess I'm done. I guess I might bring my guests on out here now. It's Miss Sheyda Gill. Come on out, girl. The crowd loves you. What's going on,
Hey,
Sheyda?
Marilyn, how are you? So good to see you.
Good to see you as well. You looking pretty in pink. Got
Thank
your hair
you.
kicked over to the side. I mean, you like, whoop. This is what you can do if you listen to me. You can be just like Shayda, okay? So Shayda, tell me, I know you're a breast cancer survivor and a thriver, but how did this begin? I mean, what's the story on how long ago? I know we talked behind the scenes about your kids were young, so tell me the story. Tell us a story.
So, of course, 16 years ago, I was standing in my kitchen and I made a reach and I went to go do some dishes or something and I felt this pain. And it was in February. January, I had just had my mammogram. I had just had my OBGYN official appointment and this pain kept bothering me. And so I made a phone call and called my doctor and said, I'm having this pain. And they said, okay, well, let's have you go back. Your MRI came back that everything was fine. And your mammogram that we did at first, but we want to go and because I had fibrocystic breast, so they had done an intense exam already in January, and so the doctor decided that okay, I'm going to send you for a sonogram and a different kind of MRI,
Mm-hmm.
and the outcome was that I had inside tube breast cancer, stage 3 in my duct of my breast, and so with that we made a decision. Okay, a lumpectomy was the best option. We're going to do a lumpectomy. We did that this in about June. I went and did a youth retreat and had a good time with some young ladies. And I got a phone call while I was at the youth retreat from my regular doctor, my general practice doctor, saying, wait a minute, something is wrong with your margins. Something, they didn't get everything. And I said, what did you mean?
Oh,
And she said, something is wrong with your margins. I said, okay. And so she said, I'm going to send you for another kind of MRI because this was 16 years ago and there was no 3D mammography. Some of the resources and the research was not as advanced as it is now. So we did another MRI. They sent my test results all the way to Tennessee to some special lab. And come to find out I had stage 4 microscopic all around my breast. And it was all on my
wow.
left breast. All this is in my left breast. And so after we found that, I did some research and I had already gotten partnered in with John Hopkins Hospital and some other hospital in Georgetown with some Black women studies that have had breast cancer. And because it's so important my doctor said right now there wasn't enough statistical data to understand how they missed that. That's what she said. And
Mm.
so they need more individuals to get into studies. And so I said, okay, I'll be a part of the study. And so I had done my research, talked to different doctors. I talked to 5 different doctors, got a second opinion. Um, the first original doctor, he wanted to just keep chopping away at me. And I said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I had 2 small children. I had decided to come out and start my own consulting business at the time. And so there was a lot at stake at the time. And so I had done
Mm.
some more research, and spoke to my doctor. And finally, the 10th doctor that would actually take me and said that they could do something quicker than 6 months. I talked to her, Dr. Regina Hampton, who's now the breast care for Washington owner, because that's how much she cares about breast care for our minority communities in Washington, D.C., in one of the most under-resourced neighborhoods. She
Mhm.
decided that we were going to, how about we just do a mastectomy? And I said, well, okay, well, how about we do two? How about we take both? Because I
Wow.
don't want this to come back. And she said, how about, and I told her, I want to be tested for the gene. No one had to ask me yet, did I want to be tested about, they asked about, because I had no history, family history, but I still wanted to be tested for the gene. And so she said, okay, we'll do that. So we did my test for the gene. We did my ER, my estrogen and progesterone testing. And then I decided I wanted to have a double mastectomy. And I had done my research. Now, I probably didn't do enough research, but I decided to have a tram flap reconstruction, take both of them off, and use my own muscles, abdomen muscles, to recreate my breast, because I didn't want any more, no extra surgeries, no. I wanted to, and I asked her what would be the best option to decrease for me to not have to take any more chemo or radiation. I had done an
Right.
extreme amount of radiation, and even to this day, my body, there are things that I have to navigate because of that extreme amount of radiation after I had the lumpectomy. So I said, I don't want to continue this, and I really do not want to take tamoxifen. And
Mhm.
so she said, well, you could do both. And I said, well, we're going to do both. And so that's what we did. We took both off. I did the tram flap reconstruction. I was completely bent over. It was a 15-hour surgery. Had to learn how to walk straight up again. My abdomen core, rebuild my muscles, still navigating through that every day in my regimen. And I found out I was estrogen and progesterone positive. Now I'm
Mhm.
lactose intolerant, which more of mine is an enzyme, where it's not just dairy, it's more of an enzyme. So it could be different foods that I can have challenges with. And so with that, I had to make, I got into another study, and I went to a PhD, MD doctor who understood medical medicine and alternative medicine, but also could tell me how she studied my whole body and what foods I eat, what exercises I do, that were going to be able to help me not have to be in this type of situation, as much as I could prevent it.
Right. Right.
We never know, right? And so just to prevent it, and also what I again had to take care of young children, and I need to be able to endure getting to all the different practices and traffic, and getting. I live in the
Right.
Washington metropolitan area, and so I needed energy and strength, and so I went into a study with this doctor, and she helped me navigate and helped me understand. Now, I understand. I learned a lot about myself that I probably would be. It would have been nice to know if I was when I was a teenager, about my, you
Right.
young ladies, about their periods, your estrogen levels, moods, emotions, all those type of things, sex drives, all those type of things can come in
Okay,
to
let's go
effect.
there.
We don't think about that. And so with
Right.
that, now I got my daughter, when she got puberty, I got her tested for estrogen and progesterone, all those things. So we could understand, she could get just certain vitamins, or might not be the option for her. So we decided that we would do that, so that also, and I've had her tested as well for the gene, just to be sure, because I've had two uncles, and family members who've had it on my father's side. I mean, I'm sorry,
Wow.
on my mother's side.
Wow. That man part of it we don't talk about as much because basically they have that too. They have some
They have
girls, some
breasts. Exactly.
they do, but no. The interesting part you just talked about was that you were putting yourself in these different studies. Okay. We cannot talk about this enough because of who we are, women of color. We need women of color to be
Exactly.
part of these research so they can know. And then you also said it was 16 years ago,
Hmm.
So getting in studies is what we have to have. We have to promote to please just do the studies. So many times people they so smart that they just miss it all. Well, no, they're gonna do this to us, Tuskegee, blah blah. This, I'm like, you don't even know how to spell that word,
Right.
Tuskegee, and
Right.
you're talking about I don't want to be a part of something, but who else is gonna do it? Who
Exactly.
else is going to do it? Who
Exactly.
else? So let me ask you this: when you did the so did you have another choice outside of taking your stomach muscles? What other choice? I'm just asking. I'm just curious. What
Yes, I
other
did.
supplements
I
did
did.
you take?
I did. Now, again, like I said, I should have got a tummy tuck when I did it. But I could have
Yeah.
done. I could have done where I put in expanders, and then they put in. I could have had silicone breasts. I could have done. They could have taken it out of my behind. And
Oh,
I think my behind is pretty good, so I was okay with that. They could have took it from my thigh.
keep your
Uh,
booty. Keep your booty. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, there were different options. But again, so with all those options, I would have had to go and have them redone or had them checked. I'd heard, different situations where silicone, it burst or something happened. And so I was a young mother and had young children. Now I did ask my husband back then, they do recommend that you consult. We went to counseling about it. They asked,
Okay.
that you consult your husband or your partner because this is a drastic change. Um, they recommend some people go to therapy. I felt very comfortable with it before I made the decision because it is a different change. Because now one of the things is you lose filling in your breast area for a large amount of time before that
Hmm.
happens. I would say probably about 3 years. I started back to start be able to have the filling. Just since my breasts, I could feel everything, and so some people that's a big deal. And so my doctor, my plastic surgeon, actually has me come in at times and talk to individuals just so they are clear and understand. Okay, here are the things that can change in the dynamics. And there are some people who they love their breasts and they do not want to make that change, and it's a hard decision for them. And they may have to have portions or only half of it. And so I chose the latter, the more drastic change.
Yeah. So how was your support with this? Who supported you? I know one did. That one sister girl of yours.
So
I
I
know
have
she
an
supported
amazing
you, but
family.
how
Um,
how are they doing with you, meaning keeping you mentally up?
mm,
One of the descriptors that you had about yourself, and I love it. I'm going to read it. You say, you're a conqueror, you're a breast cancer survivor. I'm going to use thriver too. You're a joy activator. So, if you're that joy activator, what was
mm.
happening to your activation at the time? What was going
So
on?
that's an excellent question. I was very limited. I kept it inside my very close knit village and circle. Even with my family, I was very limited in certain information because everybody has a theory, right? And everyone has heard. And someone's situation is this situation. And for me, I'll never forget when I got my second diagnosis. My family was all sitting at home waiting for me to come home. I wouldn't let anyone, wouldn't even let my mother, who lost her mother when she was 15 years old. So I knew I'm my mother's only child, not my father, but I'm
Mm,
my mother's only child. And so I knew that this was a lot for her. She lost her mother when she was 15 to heart
yeah.
disease. And so I knew that I had to be cautious of how much information I gave them. Here's the opportunity in this. Here's what we have to do as a plan, as a family, pivoting as far as our food or things like that. But I said, okay, God, I sat in my car and I prayed. I said, before I came home, they were all sitting at home waiting for me. And,
Right.
and there wasn't FaceTime and all that back then. So it wasn't like they could try to reach me immediately if I didn't answer the phone. And so I said, okay, God, you wanted my attention. You got it.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is a testimony. This is just a season. This is a season. And you know what? Okay. This is my testimony. I'm supposed to be able to help somebody with this. So we're going to
Yes.
navigate this together. I'm trusting you, God. Um, and if I never trusted you before in the test, I'm going to trust you this time. Whatever I did before, you know, humble me. And I was determined to see the positive. I woke up every morning to CC Winans Wage and War. That was
Okay.
my alarm music. I just kept my eyes fed my soul. And then I had family members. I had a group of prayer teams. One of my good friends is a reverend, and my sister and some other people, we would get on a call twice a week, and they would just pray for me. They would just pray for me. We would meet as a family on Sundays afternoon. And when we met, we found time, they would pray for me. They would support people help. I had my parents help with my kids, taking my kids' appointments and doing things with my kids. I had started my own consulting business. So my children were used to me being home. My mother lost her long-term boyfriend to cancer. And I'll never get my son
Mhm.
asking me, Mom, are your feet going to turn black and are you going to die?
Whoa.
And so my son and I had to have a long conversation that we serve a big God. And there are so many, I would share with them, this is the surgery, this is what they're going to do. He had been a part of, sometimes our children get a little bit too much in our business. They come in our bathrooms and our rooms. I'll never forget when I came home, I had two bulbs the first time of one surgery. And the second time I had four bulbs, where the blood comes out. And he's like, Mom, you got four. Is that going to be okay? Like, are you going to be okay? There's a lot of blood.
Wow.
And so we had conversations like, this is just part of the process. This is part of the healing process. Um, Now, of course, there were moments where it was like, okay, you chose me, and this is a lot, right? And I chose this decision, but I feel like I can trust you through this. So I did, and I continued that. And and I had different things that I did. I went to yoga. There were different mental support groups. I have a very close friend who's a psychologist, and they're a medical psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I felt like, okay, I'm feeling this kind of way, I'm feeling drained, I'm feeling, my energy is struggling, they would give me some foods or exercises I could do during the daytime. Or even
Okay.
if you're in the car, pull over in the car. And let me just tell you, I took naps in my car some days,
Wow.
because
So
I was still
listen,
pulling my kids, dealing things with my kids. So I would put the back seat down, go sit in the back seat and lay across the back seat and lock the doors.
well, I'm gonna tell you something, Sheyda. When I first met you, I didn't know this about you, but you are such a just got a high energy spirit around you, right? And you're the person that would be, okay, so what's next? What's next? You're the leader for real,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what's on first base, all that and stuff. So just to know that you were in this type of situation, that's why I asked the question, what type of support? Because sometimes we can be so dangerously independent
Mm-hmm.
that we don't, because we're the ones who's always making the wheels go round, right? And then
Right.
when something like this happens to us, it's just good to hear that you was willing to allow them to come in to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a lot. Because I know from when I met you and stuff, you was always the motivator on the ones saying, I'm thinking about the tree. And so you
Yes,
are the one. You can
you
do
can
it.
do
You
it.
can
You can
do it.
do it.
So I'm sorry, everybody. Listen, it's an inside joke, but nevertheless, it is relevant to what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That she was the person that would motivate a person. So it's very important that when you're going through any type of trials, tribulation, pain, or persecution, that you do seek out and don't be so proud. Because I cannot even ever think of you ever crying. Did you
Mm.
cry during this time at all? If you did, you probably had one tear out of one eye, one off the other. What happened
Well,
for real, Shade? How often did you cry?
I cried a little, not a lot. Of course, the first time, it was just scary. When I got the first diagnosis, it was just scary, and I think I was, and I didn't have that second response that I did the second time. Okay, God, what is okay? Here we okay, because the first time was the first time. Okay, I'm gonna have a lumpectomy. We're gonna get through this. People have passed from this disease, and we as African Americans are the highest in cancer, any cancer, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I had those moments, and that's where I had decided during that season was okay. I have to know how to wage war for myself.
Come
I
on.
had not learned that. I had heard it, but I had not
Oh.
learned it. And
Mm-hmm.
that I think that was a humbling experience during that season. And then like you said, the second time, because I kind of got through the first season mostly on my own,
Mm-hmm.
mostly on my own. The second
Mm-hmm.
season was like, okay, then I had to humble myself and say, okay, you are normally the caretaker. You're normally, as you said, you're the
Yes.
one that keeps everybody together, even at work, family, all those different places. And I had built a team of independent consultants. And so I had to still lead those independent consultants on my team for my consulting business, but again, I had to release. It was a lesson in release. If you have trained people up to be strong leaders, you got to allow this is their time. And I used to do it in my when I worked for corporate America. Why wouldn't I be doing that in this season? And so it was a reminder
Right.
that I didn't have to be the carrier. I didn't have to be the captain all the time. I didn't have to carry the load all the time. And then also there's a time when we have to be okay with that, that things aren't going to go the way we want them to go. And so
Yes.
that was a humble experience for me to say, okay, my daughter here doesn't look the way I want it to look, or my son or my children can't do certain things. We could be tiger moms at times. And so,
Mhm.
or my home is not, what? The carpet will get vacuumed when it gets
It will.
vacuumed.
It will. I like that. I like that point because when you're going through a lot, I used to say a long time ago when I was going through working hard. Now I said, if those dishes want to be washed, they can just go on and wash themselves up. Okay, because
There
that's
you
that's
go.
as good
Exactly.
as I'm going to get. And I know my sons would have done it, but we had a mission. I mean, I was the captain. We had a mission. I said, you go make good grades. Okay, you
There
go
you
do
go.
this.
That's
And
their job, right?
we had a plan and the
Hmm.
plan worked,
Right.
but you said the best that you had to lower your standards of what you thought was the standard,
Exactly.
because if persons come over your home to visit you, are you visiting my house, are you visiting my home, or are you visiting me?
Mm.
You
There you
see?
go.
So are you
Mhm.
gonna be get down there with a fine tooth comb and what's that, a white
Right.
glove and doing all that? I don't think so. So we have to let go, if we let go and
Hmm.
stop thinking about what people are thinking, it's like, And you know what they say, they're gonna talk about you anyway. It was super
There
clean,
it
like,
is.
she thinks she's something, because I also always clean. They gonna always talk about you no matter what. But nevertheless and stuff. Now, this is the part I want to circle back to. You said that you had went to the actual and got your mammogram, got this, got that in January,
In January.
and
And
it
when
came out okay.
And when I called the doctor's office and said, listen, I think something is wrong. I'm feeling this pain is on my side. I'm not feeling good, and he said, you just really want to be, have more than, because I was only 34 years old. So he said,
Oh,
you just want really more, you want to have the whole experience, don't you? You just want to be ahead of everybody. You always want to be a high achiever. Oh, wait, I mean, my doctor joked. I had a black doctor. I love him dearly. And he said, you always want to be an overachiever. You just want to go, you don't need this. I said, listen, I need to go do it all. And then mind you, I've never known what I didn't do. I should have got
right.
some bigger breasts, probably. But I didn't
Okay.
get something bigger. I could have, then I probably would have had a nice tummy tuck. But I didn't. So he said, it's a lot. You're going to put yourself through a lot of torture going through this process. And I said, listen, I mean, I never even could breastfeed my children. So I said, well, if that's what we got to do. I don't like how I'm feeling, and we need to figure out what's going on.
That's right. That's right. You say he trying to tell you that you want to be the most. You
Yeah.
want to be the most, Shayla, the most of whatever. But I'm so happy that you were the most. If
Hmm.
you had not been the most, then we may not be talking. I may not have ever met you. You
Wow.
see, just think about it. It's okay to be the most, because guess what I know? That's the most that's gonna save you.
There you go.
Okay. That's the most that's gonna you're gonna be there for your kids when they graduated, when they did this and all
Mm.
that. It's
Right.
okay to be the most. And I talk about health literacy all the time. But if you don't know, then you cannot fight for yourself.
This
It's
is
like, man,
so
I
true.
don't care what I had in January. I'm telling you now, because it could have been missed, it could have been right in between the January and that February. Boom, something
There
just
you
crop
are.
up.
Right.
You see? And so now I'm just hurting, Doc, and you need to check it out. And he talking about you the most. Yeah, I am the mostest. I'm the queen of mostest. Okay, whatever you need to say.
Right. He shouldn't have expected anything different, right?
Right. It's like, no, no, I'm the queen of mostest. Okay. And this is how we gonna do this thing right here. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, let me ask you this now. I know that you said if I could change anything in my life journey, what would it be? Outside of getting a tummy tuck and bigger breasts, what would you have done different?
I um there's so much. There's so much. Just so much. I think that again, like we said about, be comfortable in being the most, but also be comfortable in knowing that where my gifts and my strengths were, and that
Okay.
I could have done some things different in life, right? There, if
Mm-hmm.
I went through a lot in life as raised by my mom mostly. My dad
Mm-hmm.
was around, but he was not my dad,
Okay.
if that
Gotcha.
is helpful. And so I made choices, and probably could have put myself in a lot of situations where, I might not be here, right? I
I
might not
follow.
have, or when I navigated that situation, my health could have been more difficult. It might have been a worse situation, right? I could have already
Right.
had heart disease. I could have already had lung, there were some decisions that I had made. And so I think I would go back to my younger self and be comfortable in who you are, who God made you and how he made you. And that was
Okay.
where, like, the tummy tuck and the I could have done, had bigger breasts, all that. I wasn't even realizing that those are big things now to people, that wasn't important to me. It was, I had to make a difference. My mother had fought to get me where I was, and so I had to make a difference in society. And I came from an under-resourced area in Washington D.C. And
Mhm.
so there were no hospitals. There's still no hospitals there. There
Okay.
were public school. It was did not have the resources that some of the other public schools had in the district, and so it was hard. Even though my mother, she really struggled to put me through private school and give me experiences, but I didn't realize how valuable those were. But I also knew that I needed to do something. Like you said, your son had a job, I had a job. Like, there's a legacy here, and I have to make a difference. And so,
Exactly.
um, I had to pivot. I would have pivoted probably more in life than I did after I went through breast cancer, right? I would have probably
Okay.
made some decisions like, okay, these are where my gifts are, and it's okay to walk in that. Here it's about being in the government and doing this, but no, if that's not where God has called you to be, or that's not the gift that He's given you, or then you should walk in that. And so I think I would have done a lot of things different. As a mother,
Mhm.
it taught me to humble myself, that I had two different children and I couldn't expect the same thing out of both.
Come on.
Whereas
I'm
up
going
until
through
that
that right
point,
now. I get it. I get
up
it.
until that
I get it.
point, my 5-year old and my 10-year old, they were expected to do the same level of everything. They were expected to, if you've got these 5 different gifts, you should be able to work on it. But when we realized with my son, that didn't work with him. And so that was also a humbling experience to me, to say, okay, let's focus on what one good gift that you want to work on for him. That's how he works. With my daughter, she can do 6 or 7. She operates in that, right, and she operated
Right.
successfully in that. But I couldn't
Right.
expect that. Also, that it's okay that I'm not included all the time.
Wow.
When I was younger, I wanted to be included. You know, um, when I was, I wanted to be a part of the group, right? And so, no, it's
Right.
okay not to be a part of it. So, because in that experience, I had to say, oh, what, there's some people's energy that is toxic, and I'm not going to be around that.
That's right. That's right. I mean, and that's important to understand that as you progress and as you mature, that certain things just don't matter. But I love the part when you say about I could have got bigger boobs. They was not gonna take it from the booty part. They took my
No,
stomach.
indeed.
I mean, I should have got a tummy tuck. All of this life journey.
Right.
And so that's probably one of the three things that you kept the same or would have changed. So,
Right.
which is a good thing. And it's good to know that things that come up on us is for a lesson. It's a life
Mm,
lesson. And once you catch
yes.
the reflection of it, then you say, okay. And then another thing you won't have regrets for anything because
Exactly.
all of it is a humbling. You're adding to your toolbox or whatever. So that's good. So let me just say this. What's next for you? I think you're going to do a podcast. What's
Yes.
going on?
So, um, so it's been 16 years, and probably for a number of years, many people, I've shared my testimony, I've spoken, I work with different Black organizations and large scale breast cancer organizations. I've been trained by them to go out and speak to people and talk to people. And
Okay.
I've gotten trained to be a bra specialist. Some people don't even understand bra health, breast health to that extreme. So they're just my testimony. There's so many other things that this just brought out through me going out sharing to other young women. I have this heart for young women, and sharing with young women, and individuals who have low self-esteem. And
Wow.
so my mother-in-law passed in 2022, and years before she passed, she said, you know, you should be like, you should write a book. You should be doing like, there's a lot to this story that just at one time when you speak, we had went somewhere and I'd done, I think for the Delta Gyms, I had done something. And she said, there's something that you got to put this down in paper and it's going to help people. And so
Mhm.
with that, she pushed me, she kept talking about me. When she passed, we lost her in 2022. And the one thing that I felt bad is that, I didn't listen to her and I really didn't move like I should have. And so many people also have asked me to come speak, and it's like, okay, I got to get it together. Right.
Yes,
So
yes.
I've decided
Get your
that I'm
own.
going to do my podcast, and it's going to be called Pivot to Passion
Yes.
with the number two.
Okay, I like that. But also, when you talk about your mother-in-law and the writing of a book or something, you also have a book out there. You were featured as a survivor in "Loving Life I Live" by Deborah Banks. And can they find that on Amazon, or where can we get it?
I
Amazon.
think Amazon, you can still get it on Amazon. It was a while ago, but I believe you can still or she's the author. You can reach out to her. She's on social media and everything. She's a photographer, and she decided to
Okay.
do photojournalism story of all these numbers of survivors.
Wow.
And one of the things is the picture, I made the decision that the image of the book, she asked
Mhm.
who wanted to show themselves. It's an image of my surgery and what happened to my body.
What?
It is actually the cover image of the book.
Wow.
It's like a
Wow. I'm
shadow
gonna have to
image
go
on the
get
book.
it. I'm gonna get that
I
book.
will get
Okay.
you a copy. I'm gonna get you because I gotta sign it for you. I'm gonna get you your own personal copy.
Yeah, yeah, sign. I tell you what I want in it. No, anyway, but this has been so great. Shayda, I ain't seen you since we was up in that place, just living a life, okay?
Yes, we were up at the
Just
mansion.
living that
Yes.
life. I loved it. But is there anything that you would like to tell people that perhaps are going through, getting ready to go through, or continue to go through dealing with breast cancer? Is there anything you want to say to them?
Yes, I would love to. I think it's so important to understand, do research. I think it's important to be your best advocate. And it's also important to understand that your story is going to be different than everybody else's.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself in a situation or see yourself that whatever happened to other people, or that this is something that is going to change your life forever. It's going to make you have to pivot maybe in some areas of your life. Yes. It's going to make you have to make some hard decisions in life. Yes. But it's not going to create who you are. It's not who you
Yeah.
are. It's just a journey that you're going to have to navigate through, but also do your research and get second
Right.
opinions. Also
Right.
have your body studied. I think that is so important, where we, as in the minority communities, we do not understand the importance of that. People, or the people
Right.
who have middle class and don't have medical insurance, or they don't have the resources. There are studies, there are resources at different clinics or different health facilities where you can still have your body studied. And I think that is where we lack. We go just to get ourselves fixed, but we need to be more proactive in understanding who we are as the humans we've been made to be, and how our body functions. Everyone's heart doesn't function the same way. Everyone's liver doesn't function the same way it does. And so it's important to go to speak to someone and have them understand how that works, how it's working, what makes it work. Certain foods for me will not give me the energy that other people have foods for, or certain
That's right.
exercises. Some people, they can do kickboxing, they can do that. I have to do, or they can just do Pilates. I have to do cardio and strength conditioning for
That's
my
right.
body to function. And so those are important things to weigh when you're navigating this. But also, this is not the end. This is not the end of your story. And even there, I have a great friend whose family history had it, and she passed away. But one of the things that she went through is
Oh,
six times. And the sixth time, she decided that she wanted to do something different, and she didn't do any treatment. She didn't do any treatment. But do you know that she lived the longest after the sixth time?
Wow, wow. That's
So
great.
again, everyone's body is different, everyone's story is different.
Mhm.
Like she was with the other 4 times, 5 times, she was at death's door. And she lived, she it didn't come back for longer years, but she did something different. She took a holistic approach. Um, she took care of her other parts of her body. She didn't realize that were affecting what was going on with the cancer.
Yes,
She
yes,
was going to have to live with cancer for the rest of her life, but she realized that, oh, there's things that I can do in other areas of my body. And so again, it's not your final narrative,
nope,
but also trust yourself and your intuitions, your heart, and find you a tribe. You have to find you talked to Jill. She was one of our sisters at our retreat. She and
mhm,
I had a long conversation, and there was a decision she wasn't comfortable with. And sometimes talking to your family is hard. Sometimes family can be the most difficult people to talk to. And so it was good that we had that moment. God, she was only there for what, 2 days? She wasn't there
yes.
for the whole time, but we had that moment. God allowed us to have that moment of conversation, and she felt comfortable in her decision.
Right. I love that. Well, Shayda, thank you so much. This has been so nice. You've given some really, really great, insightful things for you to think about.
Right.
Okay. And like you said, one size don't fit all. The way you feel about a
Exactly.
thing, it might not be the way it's supposed to be, So nevertheless, you have to choose you, right? And you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing based on what you do, because yours don't look like mine. Your you don't look
Exactly.
like my you. That's how I feel about it. So
Exactly.
what we gonna do now? We gonna end this. Oh my God, I hate it. This has been a really good conversation. I'm just chatting it up with Sheyda Gill. She do what she do best. Okay, she can chat it up, and I love it. So hey, you guys have been listening to Marilyn Green, the hostess with the mostest. And you have been listening to Girl Who Don't You Know. Again, you better go like me, and you're going to need to subscribe. So until next time, you guys have a super great day, and peace out.